Microsoft is now running GPT-5 on chips they built themselves. Not Nvidia chips, not AMD, silicon that Microsoft designed from scratch and in production right now. The chip is called Maia 200. It has more memory than anything Nvidia sells, it uses half the power, and Microsoft claims it cuts their AI costs by 30%. But here's the weird part. Microsoft is also Nvidia's biggest customer. Last year alone, they bought 500,000 Nvidia GPUs. So what's going on? Is Microsoft trying to kill Nvidia, or is something more interesting happening? This is Boardroom Wire. Let's jump into it. On January 26, Microsoft quietly announced their second-generation AI chip. No big keynote, no splashy event, just a blog post and some technical documentation. But the details were pretty remarkable. Maia 200, the latest launch, is more effective than any of the existing Nvidia chips on the market. It has 216 gigabytes of memory, delivers 10 petaflops of compute, and runs at 750 watts versus Nvidia's flagship at over 1200. The chip is already deployed and live in Microsoft's data centers in Iowa running right now, powering Copilot and OpenAI's latest models. GPT 5.2 is already live on this new Microsoft silicon. It's not a prototype, it's actually in production running real workloads. But to understand why Microsoft spent years and billions building their own chips, you need to understand a problem that's been quietly eating their profits. Let's talk about Copilot. Microsoft charges $30 per user per month. Now that may sound like a lot, but every time you ask Copilot to summarize an email or draft a document, that request runs through an AI model in a data center, which costs money and is referred to as inference within the industry. So a key insight here is you really have two phases to AI. You have the training phase and then you have inference. Training is like going to school. It's expensive, but you only do it once. Inference is like taking the exam. You do it over and over again, and every single time someone uses the product, they're using inference. Here's the number that really explains everything. Inference is now over 80% of all AI compute spending. Training gets the headlines, but inference is where all the money is going. Microsoft 365 has over 400 million users. Even if a fraction use Copilot regularly, that's tens of millions of dollars in inference requests every day. At Nvidia prices, that $30 subscription might not even be profitable. So what do? Well, you build your own chips, one optimized specifically for inference, the workload you'll run billions of times. And that's why Microsoft built Maia 200. But Microsoft isn't alone. Every major tech company figured out the same thing, and they're all racing to break free from Nvidia. Microsoft isn't alone here. All of the big hyperscalers are making a similar play. Google has TPUs, which is on version 7 already. Amazon has Trainium and built a supercomputer with over 500,000 chips and zero Nvidia hardware. Meta is building custom chips for their recommendation algorithms. Even OpenAI announced a partnership with Broadcom to build their own chips. So the pattern here is clear. Everyone wants the same thing: lower costs and chips optimized for their specific workloads to reduce dependence on a single supplier. In 2023, custom AI chips were less than 5% of the market. Today, somewhere between 15 and 20% are custom silicon. By 2030, analysts project that 40% or more will be custom silicon. The industry calls this the Great Decoupling. So is Nvidia in trouble? Here's the thing. Microsoft spent $31 billion on data centers last year alone. They bought 485,000 Nvidia GPUs, and they just committed to buying Nvidia's next generation systems for their new AI superfactories. They're building their own chips and buying from Nvidia, both at the same time. Think of it like a kitchen. You don't use the same knife for everything. A chef's knife for chopping, a bread knife for slicing, a paring knife for detail work. Maia 200 is Microsoft's bread knife, optimized for high-volume, repetitive inference. Copilot queries, API calls, the stuff they do billions of times every week. Nvidia stays as the chef knife, the all-purpose tool for training new models on cutting-edge research. Microsoft's CTO stated this directly, that their goal is really diversification, not full displacement. So with that in mind, who's actually winning and losing in this new world. So the winners here in this kind of fragmented or decoupling chip world are definitely the hyperscalers. So Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, they have the scale to justify custom chips and the cash to build them. Every point of cost savings for them in their operations is worth billion at the scale they're operating. AI developers also benefit because more competition means lower prices. When hyperscalers aren't paying the Nvidia premium, those savings eventually reach customers. But this isn't good for everyone. So the losers in this are really the smaller cloud providers. You can't spend billions of dollars on custom chips if you're not Google-sized. So Oracle, IBM, they're going to get squeezed here. And of course, you also have Nvidia. So while they're not losing yet, they have a $500 billion backlog, and this definitely starts to chip away and erode at their pricing power. When your biggest customers like Microsoft, Amazon, etc., are also becoming your competitors, the dynamics start to change and you can't charge your monopoly pricing for too much longer. So the verdict is that custom silicon is real, but it's not fully replacing Nvidia. It's creating a more fragmented market with different chips for different jobs. That's the new equilibrium. So in closing, this is a really big move from Microsoft because they're continuing this meta trend that Google and Amazon really started of building and operating their own silicon at scale. For Microsoft, at the scale they operate at, this is going to be a huge boon to their business if they pull it off correctly, considering they're running AI for over 400 million users. 30% cost reduction is going to be, again, a huge boon to the business. It's also a signal that the Nvidia for everything era is ending. So what's going to emerge here isn't just a kind of winner takes all market like many have priced in for Nvidia, but it's a world where all the biggest companies build exactly what they need and everyone has a little bit more flexibility and optionality. With that, I'm going to wrap things up. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, leaving a comment, coming back for more strategic breakdowns on business and technology. I'm Border Moir. See you on the next one.